What happened after Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's first date? I want to talk about it, and we're going to hear it from Harry himself. I will read you an excerpt from Prince Harry's book Spare, and I think you're going to see some interesting behaviors that align with narcissism. Allegedly, and in my opinion, if this sounds interesting to you, please sit back and relax, get ready. But before we begin, here's the intro. Welcome to Revealing the Narc. Join me as I highlight narcissistic traits in celebrities and public figures. Everything here is in my opinion and not professional advice. If you enjoy the analysis, please like and subscribe. I did a video recently going through their first date from Prince Harry's perspective, and I'll drop a link to that in the description of this video. But what I want to say and what I believe was the takeaway message from that analysis is that the dynamic of Harry's and Meghan's relationship was established even before they met. Harry had a lot of anxiety. Meghan did nothing to try to comfort that anxiety. And it just felt already like Harry was walking on eggshells. So in this portion of Prince Harry's Spare, their date has ended and Harry is now at his friend's house. While he's over there, he is under the influence, and he and his friend are watching the movie Inside Out. This is where the portion I want to read is, so let's begin reading. My phone rang. Oh, I held it up to my mate. It's her. Who? Her. She wasn't just calling, she was FaceTiming. Hello? Hello? What are you up to? I'm with my mate. What's that in the background? Oh, are you watching cartoons? No, I mean, yeah, kinda. It's Inside Out. And that's where the excerpt that I want to read ends. From this portion, there are three things that have my alarm bells going off. Before we get into them, I want to mention that I believe Meghan Markle is a malignant narcissist. I say that because she behaves exactly like my stepmom does, and my stepmom is a malignant narcissist. The three things I noticed that really, really raised the alarm bells for me is the FaceTime call without a warning, the comment about the movie that Harry is watching, and the shame that it's almost that he feels shameful that he is watching this show. Meghan's unannounced FaceTime call, I believe, can be framed as a classic narcissistic move. She took control of the situation without allowing Harry to set any boundaries or prepare. Narcissistic behavior often involves surprise or manipulation, where the individual creates a sense of urgency or expectation without warning, leaving the other person feeling unsure of how to respond. The surprise element can create an emotional hook. Harry may have felt obligated to answer the call even if he wasn't prepared, creating a power imbalance from the start. This behavior could indicate a need to dominate the narrative. By calling Harry on FaceTime without any prior notice, Meghan may be trying to establish control over how the relationship would unfold. Narcissists often initiate these types of behaviors to assert their authority in the relationship early on. There may also be setting the stage for dependency. By making the FaceTime call, Meghan is potentially setting up a dynamic where Prince Harry is expected to be constantly available to her. In a narcissistic relationship, one person's needs, and in this case it would be Meghan's, take precedence, and the other, who would be Harry, might become emotionally hooked or dependent on approval or attention of the narcissist. By calling without prior notice, Meghan is potentially encroaching on Harry's emotional space, and this can lead to dependency. Narcissists often use these types of boundary-pushing tactics to make the other person feel obligated to engage with them on their terms. This could also be a sign of love bombing. Love bombing is the practice of overwhelming someone with attention, affection, and flattery early in the relationship in order to gain control and create emotional dependence. The FaceTime call could be seen as part of a calculated strategy to make sure that Prince Harry feels special or cherished, all while establishing a dynamic where she holds the upper hand. Narcissists typically create this false sense of intimacy early on in relationships, making the other person feel uniquely chosen and valued, which can lead to them overlooking red flags later on. And this is something we always hear. Oh, hindsight is 2020. Isn't that something we always say? The FaceTime call may also have been intended to keep Harry guessing, which is another narcissistic tactic. Narcissists often act unpredictably, keeping their pattern in a state of uncertainty where they feel like they have to earn affection or attention. It creates a cycle of idealization and devaluation, which can destabilize the partner's emotions, causing them to feel more attached and more willing to overlook any negative behaviors. Harry could have felt special and important after the call, but also potentially unsure about her intentions, leading to an emotional push-pull dynamic. And I do want to mention that it is a red flag to me the way she asks him about what he is watching. It's almost a judgment. It almost looks like she's looking down on him. Narcissists also have a need for constant validation. By making the FaceTime call after their first date, Meghan may be trying to reinforce that Harry would be emotionally available to her on her terms. This can fuel her sense of self-worth and control in the relationship. A narcissistic person might also feel entitled to attention and admiration, and this early behavior could signal her expectation that Harry would always be available to validate her needs. So, what kind of impact could this have on Prince Harry? Narcissistic individuals often leave their partners feeling emotionally drained, confused, and questioning their own worth. Harry may have found himself overwhelmed or even flattered by Meghan's attention, but also emotionally manipulated. Over time, this can lead to codependency, where Harry might feel the need to constantly cater to Meghan's emotional needs at the expense of his own well-being. Okay, let's get to the second thing that is a red flag for me. Meghan asks, "Are you watching cartoons?" This could be seen as a subtle put down, implying that watching cartoons is something childish and trivial, especially if it's framed as a question meant to make Harry feel a bit foolish for his choice of entertainment. In a relationship where narcissistic tendencies are at play, there's often a pattern of veiled criticism and backhanded compliments. Instead of straightforward criticism, the narcissistic person might use questions or comments that make the other person feel inferior without outright attacking them. Narcissists often seek to reinforce their own sense of superiority by demeaning others, either intentionally or unconsciously. The question about cartoons could be seen as an attempt to undermine Harry's autonomy or his personal choices. In narcissistic relationships, the narcissist may criticize or belittle their partner to maintain a sense of superiority. Meghan's question could be interpreted as an attempt to position herself as someone who is more sophisticated and mature, thereby making Harry's choice of watching Inside Out seem less worthy. So, what kind of impact would this have on Prince Harry? Harry seems anxious in his response, which indicates that Meghan's question made him feel defensive or embarrassed. Narcissistic individuals often don't recognize the impact of their words on others, as they are more focused on how they themselves appear in the moment. The subtle way Meghan frames the question might make Harry feel like he's doing something wrong or immature, causing him to defend his choice. This reaction, in turn, could highlight a deeper emotional manipulation tactic, where Harry feels pressure to justify his actions and preferences. And believe me, have I felt this in all of my relationships with the narcissists around me, constantly having to justify my actions and preferences. If you've experienced this also, I'm sorry if you have, but feel free to drop that in the comments. We have such a beautiful community here, and I just really appreciate the openness and the support that everyone gives each other. Okay, so on to the third point. Harry's response to Meghan's question is one of anxiety, almost as if he's ashamed of watching Inside Out. Narcissistic behavior often involves creating an emotional environment where the other person feels insecure or unsure of themselves. Narcissists may make their partners feel anxious or unworthy by triggering feelings of self-doubt, either through direct criticism or more indirect means like questioning their choices or belittling them. Harry's defensiveness or even embarrassment may be a result of Meghan's subtle criticism, even if she didn't mean to harm him. This kind of emotional manipulation is common in narcissistic dynamics, where the narcissist might not necessarily intend to cause harm, but does so unintentionally by pushing the other person's emotional buttons. A narcissistic person would lack empathy and therefore fail to understand how their actions affect others. In this case, Meghan's behaviors have caused Harry to feel like his choices were being judged, which could create a sense of emotional unease. When someone feels ashamed or anxious, it can be a sign that the narcissistic person has made them feel inferior. Narcissists also create power imbalances in relationships where one person feels like they have to constantly prove themselves or seek validation. Harry's anxious response suggests that Meghan's question may have shifted the power dynamic in their interaction, making him feel inferior or self-conscious. Over time, this type of emotional manipulation can lead to a larger imbalance in the relationship, where one partner feels constantly judged or criticized. In this case, Harry might feel like he has to constantly prove his worth to Meghan or justify his actions, feeding into this narcissistic need for validation and control. So these behaviors, the unexpected FaceTime calls, the subtle put downs, it seems to me, and Harry's anxious response could be viewed as behaviors associated with narcissistic tendencies. So the behaviors here, they may not be extreme and may not be so obvious, but they align with patterns of control, emotional manipulation, and a lack of empathy. Relationships with narcissists have a lot of emotional turbulence, and this happens because of a disregarding of boundaries, belittling others, and fostering insecurity. This dynamic can already be observed in this interaction between Harry and Meghan. So I'm curious to know what you all think about this. To me, this pattern, this unhealthy relationship has been established, and it's only the first date. If you see this also, please drop that in the comments. If this was interesting to you, please like and subscribe. Please share it with your friends. I appreciate you all so, so much. I can't believe I'm at over 10,000 subscribers. You guys, you really know how to make someone feel good. I appreciate you all greatly. I apologize if I don't get to all the comments on time. I really, really appreciate every single one of you. And with all that being said, I'll talk to you all soon. Goodbye.